Hello and welcome. Please come closer. I will not bite, I promise. Hello and welcome everyone to the blockchain relaunch event in Lithuania. My name is Vytautas Černiauskas. I'm an expert at Startup Division and CIVITTA. And tonight we will have several very interesting things to discuss about blockchain and related activities. So first, I will invite my colleagues and present him, and he will talk about trends and the latest in the blockchain environment. Then we will have a very interesting keynote from Bruno Maia from Bitfury. And then we will have an exactly interesting discussion, a panel discussion with 5 experts on stage, where we will have a lot of interesting topics from the future of the technology to applications to funding startups and whatnot. It has been quite some time since we had a major blockchain event here in Lithuania. And we hope to rekindle this discussion with presenting about what is actually happening, telling that this topic is still very much alive. It is in the focus of European Commission and other stakeholders, and we will invite all the relevant people in the ecosystem to cooperate, to communicate, and to bring fruits to the blockchain in the future. So now, Žygimantas Zabieta, Senior Consultant at CIVITTA and Startup Division, please.
Hello, everyone. It is a pleasure for me to stand in front of you. Some of you already saw me a few years ago when we had a series of blockchain events, probably every week. But then the hype got silent. And here we are now, again, for blockchain relaunch. And I'm very excited to share, because in the last years we did a lot. And so as Vitas presented, there is our agenda for today. We will try to be as concise as possible to have as much time for networking as possible, but I know that you will have questions. The best is to give the best questions to the audience, to the people on the stage just after they finish their presentations, but I think that the most value will be during the networking with the people who were on stage and also among yourselves, because here's the blockchain relaunch and we have, I think, everyone or most of them who are really interested in technology and about the opportunities, and let me present those opportunities to you. So once again, CIVITTA and Startup Division were quite active for a past year. Currently, we're running 3 European Commission-funded Horizon projects, and with them, we conducted a comprehensive blockchain sectors maturity assessment. We analyzed 15 sectors, trying to figure out which is the most mature for blockchain adoption. We also launched an equity-free pan-European accelerator, selected 23 companies that are now being accelerated to build blockchain solutions. And also we attended numerous blockchain events, AI Blockchain Conference in Malta, Blockchain Global Convergence Congress in Malaga, many events in Brussels, and that gave us an opportunity to bring this knowledge to you. So let's start with the maturity assessment. So we analyzed all the 15 sectors. We did a quantitative analysis, and then we talked with over 20 experts globally to find out which are the top 3 sectors for utilization and adoption of blockchain-based products. And these are retail, ICT, and fintech. So let us hear about every one of them step by step. So Okay, if we start with retail and wholesale, provenance and tracking and traceability that blockchain enables is one of the key drivers for this technology to penetrate the retail market. And if you're anywhere in the supply chain, or if you know who is in the supply chain, they really should look into what blockchain has to offer, because the blockchain in retail market grows super fast, and the prediction for next 3 years is huge, up to 2 billion euros for blockchain in retail, and you could probably try to take a share of it. If we look at the key drivers, so increasing efficiency and speed in retail, environmental friendliness, and origin of goods requirement, so everything which is with the eco-labels, and if you want to proof the eco-label, you can exploit the blockchain technology for that. Key barriers on availability of infrastructure, still storing data and IoT sensors are the barriers, and also it's difficult to attract suppliers and show the benefit of transparent operations. If we talk about retail globally, not every country has the same way of operations and same values, so sometimes it could be a barrier. But eventually, so there is 6.3 million SMEs in the European industry of retail, and 66% of them are SMEs. These are small and medium enterprises. And there's a high, even though there is a high legislative and regulatory independence, we scored it as a 2 out of 3 points for blockchain solution feasibility, and 2.5 out of 3 points for blockchain impact on the industry, meaning that blockchain could make a really big impact and change the industry as it is now, and it is not that difficult to build those solutions. If we go to ICT, so for information and communications technology, blockchain is a transformative solution, and of course you can see that the industry is growing and spending more and more to improve the operations, to increase the transparency and notion of trust. So key drivers is the increased security and data privacy. All the GDPR issues could be also addressed with some blockchain applications. And it's very important to say, when we're talking about the blockchain, it's not only about the startups that blockchain is a core technology. It's also about any company that can adopt innovative solutions. They should really need to look into their value chain, and maybe there are processes that could be enhanced with this technology. So blockchain solutions feasibility scored the highest for ICT sector, and it can really impact the industry, and actually it is starting to impact now. If we look at fintech, easily 42% of all European blockchain companies looking to fintech. So it provides safety, security, and speed in exchanging data, info, or money. And the market is growing really fast at the rate of 65% in the next 7 years. So the drivers are customer data protection, legislation, and fraud programs, all the AML and other things can be improved using this technology. And here we have European Commission. European Commission, as a major political body in this region, they put blockchain on the spotlight. And as European Member of Parliament, Ms. Gabriel, said that Europe must make more of technological innovation, and blockchain technology is an innovation that European cannot afford to miss. Saying that, EU just last year, in November, they announced that they're launching AI and blockchain fund that will invest 100 million in only 2020. And in the next 5 years, the investments will grow. So seize this opportunity, follow us and follow European Commission, learn about these opportunities, and you will be able to access 100 million only for this year for equity investments together with to find the co-investments and to help your venture capitalist to co-invest in your company with the trust that European Commission could provide. And there are some opportunities that us, CIVITTA and Startup Division provides within the projects that we are running. And for example, B-Hub for Europe, what can it offer for the government and for public officials and public institutions and state-owned companies? So first of all, we are going to launch B-Hub for Europe trainings that will provide governmental representatives to the all necessary basic information to understand the technology and learn how to procure blockchain use cases if there are any adaptable to the specificity of that public institution. Is it a social welfare company? Is it a central registry? Is it a bank? Is it a energy state company? With these trainings, we will enable 20 Lithuanian officials to understand the technology, to learn about the use cases, and start doing something with that. For others that are more aware and actually working with the regulations, we will organize policy workshops that will be pan-European. They will be organized in 3 different countries, Portugal, Lithuania, and we're deciding on a third, probably Brussels, where we will invite policymakers that actually make the decisions and regulates the market, regulates the blockchain industry to increase their knowledge, to find agreements, and to share best practices. As for SMEs and corporations, a bit more. So first of all, a very interesting thing, if you have a company that doesn't have blockchain yet, or you are wondering if you need blockchain, we developed a tool, DLT assessment tool that you can access through blockstar.eu. It is a tool, a questionnaire. Okay, at this point it's a beta version, but we are asking you to go try the tool, go to the blockstar.eu, find DLT assessment tool, and check if your company needs blockchain. I hope that the answer is no. Because it's very important to understand that blockchain is not a cure for everything. And this tool is supposed to help you understand your own business and actually answer the question if you really need blockchain. And if it says no, it's okay. If it says yes, then we can sit together and look at it. And maybe we can find who could actually build that solution for you. And B-Hub for Europe will also work with corporations and SMEs with the same kind of training that we're going to train the public officials. So how to procure blockchain, what are the use cases in the market, how we can adopt this technology and try going further. For SMEs, it's also opportunity to get blockchain solution at no cost. In blockstar.eu, we are going to match SMEs that has a need, that has an evident need for a blockchain solution with blockchain developers. So SME will be matched with a team that will develop a solution and will pilot that solution within your company. So in 2 months, if the pilot goes through, you can buy the technology, and the company that the team that tested the solution will be able to move forward for better investments. For BlockIS, we are organizing cluster missions together with another 11 partners from all across Europe. We are organizing discovery missions where you can actually go to different countries to learn about their ecosystems and find out about the blockchain opportunities abroad. Upcoming missions for the next couple of months will be organized in Croatia, Belgium, Hungary, and Germany. And if you have a small or medium enterprise, you're very welcome to go to blockis.eu. Blockis as one word, .eu, and there you will be able to find the apply for cluster missions. As for startups, 3.6 million in no equity grants. That sounds, well, pretty amazing, right? So in Blockis and Blockstar projects, we are giving a no equity grants for companies In BlockIS, a company can get up to 60,000 in no equity grants and access free business acceleration and mentorship services. And second open call will be in April. For Blockstart, you can get up to 20K in no equity grant, but plus the best 5 teams out of 20 that will enter the program will be matched with SMEs, just as I told for the SMEs. So for the companies, they will be matched with the SMEs where you can pilot your solution and straight into the market. And after that, after getting these 20K, after getting 4 SMEs to pilot your solution, you'll be ready to meet the investors and say, hey, listen, we entered this program, we built the MVP, we piloted it in 4 companies, it works, invest in us. As for B-Hub, we are going to launch vouchers for startup division services. We are mapping the ecosystem right now, and if you are a startup in blockchain, please approach us, our team. We are going to include you into our map. We're gonna rank the companies between each other, and for those that will be interested in services, we will be able to provide free of charge business acceleration and mentorship services for you. So I think also it's also very important to get access to international network of ours, and we try to colorize the map of Europe, showing all the countries where we have projects, and different geographic coverage, but basically, as you can see, you can access all the Western European countries through us. There are events in Central Europe. We have partners in Serbia and Romania, in Greece, Italy, Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, France, Spain, and Portugal and Ireland. So stay with us. Follow these 3 websites, bhub.eu, blockis.eu, and blockstar.eu. In a nutshell, if you need training or free services, you can go to bhub. If you're interested in 60K, you can go to blockis.eu. And if you're interested to test your solution for DLT, you can go to Blockstart. And you can also find there information for the next open call, which will start in summer for 20K. And for those companies that are interested in what could be piloted within their companies, you can also find that information here. So thank you. That's what CIVITTA and what Startup Division does in regards to blockchain. And now I think we will move on to the next slide. So thank you.
Thank you. And now, thank you for dangling those piles of money in front of blockchain startups. Great timing, by the way. And now we have a special guest, a keynote speaker. I welcome for the keynote Bruno Maia from Bitfury, Pre-Sales Director. Welcome.
How are you? Pass the slides. Hello, good evening, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much in the name of Bitfury Group. I'd like to thank CIVITTA, Žygimantas for this lovely invitation. My first time in Lithuania, in Vilnius. Such a lovely city, amazing environment, beautiful place, beautiful crowd. I think we'll have an amazing talk tonight, and I hope I can add value to this lovely event. So, my name is Bruno, as you already know. Tonight I'm going to show a little bit of blockchain use case, how Bitfury sees the evolution of blockchain, the maturity of the industry, trends and challenges. It's a little bit about the company, just make sure that everybody knows a little bit more about us. We are actually coincidentally celebrating last month our 9th years of operation. So we are also, I would say, almost born together with the first block of Bitcoin. We are a company fully dedicated to this new ecosystem. We are fully born into this new paradigm, heavily based on R&D. More than half of our staff is dedicated to R&D. sitting in different countries in European Union. We have several projects across the globe with blockchain initiatives, governmental and private, and as well more than 4 product lines, all related with blockchains and this is ecospace. A little bit of the story of Bitfury. We are proud of our oranges. We started into the mining segment. We hold the whole vertical of mining business in Bitcoin, designing hardware, chipsets, fabricating servers, deploying data centers, and operating data centers. But later on, down to the road, we realized that this revolution is much more than mining blocks. There is a lot to explore, and we are still scratching the surface on this paradigm that we have been changing. Since 2015-16, we develop other verticals, especially in software, where we develop our own blockchain, which is Exonon, and other products related with the crypto ecospace. This last year, we also announced our new division in AI, which also has a strong synergy with blockchain and all these techs that we are developing. And we are proud to announce that this year we're named by Forbes one of the 50 most prominent companies in blockchain in the world. So we received that very gladly and humble. So enough of Bitfury, let's talk blockchain. The state and trends and challenges. So basically, we are seeing this segment getting the maturity level in an incredible pace compared with other economic segments that took 10, 20, 30 years to reach a kind of a reasonable maturity level. The blockchain went from, I can save all the problems in the world, just pronounce blockchain and everything is fine. Until now, we realize it's not that like this. We need to do a little bit of work. It's not pronounced blockchain. So we go to a more maturity, I would say, understanding of the technology. We are seeing now in end of 2019, end of 2019, solid projects, solid pilots, embracing of technology from different governmentals, different jurisdictions, different economic segments, private, public, and we are already starting to understand how to apply blockchain in real use case. As Gimanta said, nothing needs to be blockchainized. There are some solutions that, yes, is the best solution, others no. And even though if your solution is blockchainized, it's public or private. It's a lot of questions to be answered. And we are seeing that all these projects are getting an interesting maturity level. Some verticals, some economic segments, they are being developing faster and embracing faster this new technology. Some are more naturally fit for blockchain. As we like to say, whenever I have too many people touching the same thing, blockchain is a good idea to keep trust among those parties. So there's segments that are more naturally fit for blockchain. So we separate here some verticals, and our view is coincident with CIVITTA in certain aspects, especially in supply chain, in retail, and we pay a special attention on government. So we see across all markets, and can not only in the development but underdeveloped as well, a lot of interest on blockchains to solve problems for governmental. So land registering, citizen identification, that will open possibilities to new ways to protect and govern their own ID. Those are natural segments. And the private, as Gimantas mentioned as well, finance is a strong one, together with supply chain, which brings some challenges. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this. In the supply chain ecospace, although it's a natural fit, you have the challenge to bring different companies, different actors to sit on a table and use the same mechanism of control and same mechanism of interaction with the blockchain. What we see in a supply chain that's an easy use case to start with is companies for their own supply chain, where they are the whole and the most preeminent stakeholder, using blockchain to control the inner process. Okay, and that is also a natural fit for a lot of different segments, including telecom. When we think about blockchain, we always think, blockchain be used to the final business model of an industry. Telecom, so let's replace the network for a blockchain-based network. Does that really make sense? I really don't know. But we can use blockchain to optimize how the operator runs their business and optimize OPEX and make it more efficient and improve results. That's a strong use case, and that's real, and some operators are starting doing that, especially in supply chain. They're very complicated for mobile networks, for example, control the whole inventory, making sure that everything is up to date, that a single source of truth, and all the internal suppliers access this source of truth in an efficient way. Other natural fits is registries, and how much demand is for the government to have registries basically correlated with the trust that the population in a country has in its own government. So we see more necessity of blockchain or more demand on blockchain on jurisdictions where the government has less trust from the society. It's also a replacement of those actors that the society doesn't trust at all. Audit as well, for the same reason, can be a strong use case on blockchain, and transparency and making sure that everything is traceable. It's very important. Well, and where we are going. So blockchain is enough. Having blockchain is the solution that we need and want, and that's it. We are seeing first on a market point of view, very much look like what Gigimantas mentioned, a strong increasing of investment with a very solid annual increase on investments. The leading investments will still go through banking industry, but we see a spread of use cases in all industries. It's a flat increasing and a little bit more in others than specifically industries, but 80% of the executives interviewed by Deloitte mentioned that blockchain is important. They pay attention and they are seriously considering using in their solution. So yes, blockchain is coming. It's coming. Of course, then the revenue is following together. The increasing on investment on blockchain is annually massive, 50% a year, and we're going to reach billions of dollars by the end of 2024, with net worth stored in blockchain in terms of information on trillions. But blockchain is enough to drive all these things? Not yet. So what we see now is a second phase where blockchain is an enabler, as any technology, and they will start be combining with other very positive and impacting technologies such as AI, machine learning, IoTs, and of course those leveraging all these technologies together. It's not a ready-made package. It will take a little bit time to the industry to make sure how those technologies will be cooked together, and each different verticals, each different economic segments. I separate here 4 examples from problems and real situations that we are facing right now. Data privacy, for example, and blockchain and data privacy is a hot topic. One of the possible solutions is with full homomorphic encryption and blockchain, so you can share your data without concern with privacy. Of course, another way to avoid privacy problems in blockchain projects is a good solution architecture where you don't put sensitive information directly in the blockchain, especially if it's a public one. Another use case that we see is deep fake identification, meaning that we're going to start using blockchain to validate the source of information, adding in the source of information a digital tag, mapping this digital tag in the source of information, a blockchain, to guarantee immutability, so you can verify if the information that you're getting into that video is from the source, the real source, or has been faked. Other mechanism of trust verification is not only in information, but at the device level. That would be a big enabler for IoT combined with blockchain. Each is what we call the TEE, Trust Execution Environment, where you guarantee that the IoT device that has been placed in that region, location, is the authentic one and hasn't been tampered. Because blockchain cannot guarantee that the information that you put over there is valid or truth. What blockchain will help you out is whatever you put in the blockchain will be quite difficult to be changed without authorization. So if the information that you're putting over there is invalid or is a lie, you're just making a lie eternal, as we like to say. So we need to be very careful which kind of source is putting and mapping the blockchain if the information is valid or not. Also, pattern recognition without compromising privacy is injecting, for example, noise into your information, as Google does with the information that they capture from the mobiles. And this noise will make the information useful but not mappable to individuals. So if you can put that in a blockchain, it's not a problem. But we need to talk about the elephants in the room, because although blockchain as enabler can be mixed with very interesting technologies, and some technologies are mature, like IoT, AI is getting there with all these algorithms on machine learning, they are very advanced already. We need to address problems. We need to address issues that are currently avoiding blockchain to reach the masses. Okay? And how Bitfury, how we see those problems and how they are impacting on the massive adoption. I added here in this slide in terms of what we believe is the relevance. First one is instant deployment. We see that the blockchain as itself is still far away from the customer needs. So nobody will arrive for a customer, hey, the blockchain, or your problem solved. No, it's not that yet. It's not Excel. So every project demands an integration, demands a solution architect, and that is a big bridge that needs to cross for a massive adoption for SMEs, for small companies to use blockchain in the solutions. Interoperability, it's a problem, it's a huge problem. Right now, not that complicated because the ecosystem hasn't grown yet that level. But we are noticing that we are shifting from this dream about every solution in blockchain in public blockchains, because not every solution needs a public blockchain. Why pay the fees for SME, for example, if they can use a private blockchains without any fees? And those private networks, they have a problem right now because they don't interact with each other. They are not interoperable. They are not providing seamless interoperability. Looks like the European telecommunication system before GSM. Like each country has its own standards, and that's it. Right now, it's not a problem because they are not bumping shoulders to shoulders. But some jurisdictions, we're already seeing that there's too many projects in blockchain in a small region, and yes, they are starting to be an issue. So address interoperability it will be a real problem to cope. And not only a problem to solve, there is a market opportunity here. Gartner sees a multi-billion dollars market valuation in interoperability opportunities in the few years ahead. And of course, the third point is privacy. Why put privacy in the third element here? Because there's technologies available already to start coping with this challenge, and as well a good solution design to avoid you put things on the blockchain that cannot be erased, cannot be compliant with GDPR, and etc. is a big problem. So it's been handling. I intentionally miss one point here, which is scalability. And why I miss? Because we think that already this problem has already been addressed. In the private networks, you easily can achieve thousands of transactions per second, which is for most of the applications nowadays is enough. So we don't see scalability as a big issue to be addressed right now. Maybe in the future, yes. Among all these examples, just one deep dive here a little bit on how we see this gap between blockchain and customer needs could be bridged. We separate that in four, I would say, working packages to be more visualized. It's the blockchain protocols, the design of the solution, is the deployment of the blockchain, of course, and integration with legacy systems. So the blockchain came to solve the first problem, but you have a huge distance between the blockchain and the customer needs. We see that the platforms that are coming, and we also have the solution for that, is our Exonon Enterprise, is bridging the first of the gaps, which is a seamless way to implement blockchain for SMEs in the cloud, so the layer one of blockchain problem is solved, and it's easier to the customer to integrate. So, thank you. The next step to bridge the gap is the logic designs, or the service, as we call the smart contracts. We envision those over-the-cloud platforms providing templates of smart contracts to be used by small companies, and then make it even more easier the adoption of blockchain. Of course, there always will be a small gap to be implemented, which can be addressed with tailor-made SDKs and an easier way to integrate the solutions. Well, and just a little bit about blockchain and Exonon. It's our blockchain. It's with this blockchain we managed to reach the market in all I would say, different aspects, from open source. Our Exonon is an full open source platform that anybody, any startup can use our framework to implement the blockchains. It's open and free. And we develop our own in-house solution, our blockchain as a service on top of our own open source, as well as our solution for interoperability in blockchains that we call BOB, which is blockchain of blockchains. It's the way that we are doing this interoperability. Just a small example of some projects and pilots that we've been handling, and land registry, a small pilot but with good results, and also supply chain and governmental. So it's examples of pilots that increase, enhance the performance, and manage to get some payback to the investors. So that's what they are looking for right now, is real solutions that will enhance and optimize operations, and you can justify the implementation of this new technology. So, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I think I managed to get in 15 minutes, isn't it?
Yeah, amazing timing, amazing. Now we can go for questions.
Yes, please.
And we have one right away. So Marius, wait for a mic.
Thank you. One slide back.
Yes?
There are some examples. The most interesting for myself is the third one on government auctions.
Okay.
What kind of government auctions are you running in Ukraine? Maybe you remember the name?
No, I was not part of this project. I think it was part of the supply chain or something like that, the providers of insumes. I don't have the full details of the project.
In Ukraine, they have the only auction platform from government side?
Yeah, it's a pilot, not a full project.
Okay.
Those are pilots,
okay.
Pilots, yeah.
Okay. Can you name some other things? I know what you started to do some kind of pilot projects on electronic voting or internet voting. What's the progress?
No, and the problem with all the projects that we implement, especially with private sector, they have 3 letters that it calls NDA, which as well, even more. But we are seeing a strong and more mature approach on blockchain, with customers from private and public sector more, I would say, conscious about what blockchain can bring, with people asking truly enhancements and improvements on the business models to justify blockchain. So it's not anymore that hype of let's put blockchain just because it's blockchain. It's something much more solid. And that is good for the whole ecosystem. It's showing that we are driving to a positive environment with a strong and real use cases. Are we there yet? No. Mostly because of those limitations that I'm seeing. It's not easy nowadays to implement a blockchain project. It's getting easier, but it still requires integration. I would say that a blockchain project looks like an SAP project. Nobody buys SAP product, put inside the corporation and start using it day one. There is an integration process. You need to integration the SAP with your current system, with billing, and etc. Same with the Salesforce, for example. You can buy Salesforce, just use it as an Excel file with a nice interface, or you can get Salesforce and integrate with your email, exchange, finance, and etc. It's an integration project. So blockchain is the same. But we need to close this gap, make it easier, make it affordable, especially if you want to achieve SMEs as a target.
Do we have any more questions? Okay, if not, I would like to thank you.
Thank you very much.
Word to
Thank you, Bruno. Thank you. Thank you for a very insightful presentation. And now I'd like to invite Žygimantas to invite the 5 nice panelists to this discussion. I guess we will have 6 chairs prepared. And I hope that at the end of the panel discussion, we will also have an opportunity to ask questions to the panelists, since they will touch a wide array of interesting topics, blockchain related.
Okay, thank you very much. So let me introduce the panel. Yeah, last chair there. Can you guys move a little bit? So, yeah, let me introduce everyone. So, first of all, a round of applause to Andra Bogdanaitė, Program Manager of Startup Wise Guys. Andrius Adamonis, Head of LB Chain from Bank of Lithuania. Ruben Cisterninio, CoinRule, Chief Trade Officer, right? Yeah. Vytautas Kašėta, blockchain expert and president of Crypto Economy Organization. And Darren Franceschini, blockchain expert, early adopter, CTO of a couple of companies, and then many more. Okay, so we'll have a number of mics. So one mic for this side, one somewhere here. And I would like to start this panel discussion with Vytautas here, asking a pretty simple question. If there would be a startup looking for, investigating this technology, so what use case you would suggest to start looking at? Where are the opportunities?
Yeah, there are 2 choices, the easier one and not so easy. So basically, who of you have heard decentralized finance a year ago or 2 years ago? There was no such thing before. Like in 2017-18, ICOs was the most important driver of the economy. Currently, as years pass, we understand that blockchain doesn't matter anymore. Yeah, it's just a technology, and technology basically means something only if it can diminish some limitations that we currently have. So today, I would suggest to go for DeFi, like decentralized finance, if you want easy money, because there are, in 2019, DeFi only grew like vast amount of percents. It's now over 1 billion in valuation, with 4 to 5 more billions being injected as loan providers for loan provisioning with the institution players joining as well. So it's for easy way. For hard way, for tough way, I would go with tech startup. With tech startup that could leverage this confluence, convergence thing, where blockchain can help other mainstream technologies to do some good use cases, to do some good things, like AI plus blockchain, IoT plus blockchain for data-driven economy. So crypto economy basically is here to stay.
Thank you. I would like to ask Ruben, since you are in the finance sector, working in a blockchain company, so how is it going?
Well, these days not so good, but in general, the mood of the market is very different from the one that we were witnessing.
We'll just fix the sound soon. Just a second. Okay. Are we okay? I think now
Okay,
they
so
close the mics.
yeah, so I was saying that the mood is very, very different from. Maybe I can just start, yeah.
Three people are working on it. Just a second. How is so good? Now it's okay? Yeah.
Try, okay. One thing that I would like to reconnect to what we were saying before, that now in DeFi we are making, we can make very easy money. It's something that looks like something to laugh about. But if we consider that if you buy a stable coin and you can lock it in a smart contract, which some of these smart contracts nowadays are quite verified and quite secure, and you can earn interest on your dollar. No, so we are not even taking crypto risk in terms of 3, 4, 5%. There are some platforms that gives you up to 10% in return in dollars. Yes, I think that there is very good opportunities for investors in the crypto market. DeFi is a very interesting opportunity, but in general, I see crypto market as a very huge asset class that will gain a lot of importance in the next years, especially because nowadays we are seeing a red market in the crypto market, but we are seeing much deeper red market in traditional stocks market. A lot of people are mostly invested in traditional financial market and not in the crypto market. So what will happen when people will recognize that there is another asset class that it's decorrelated from the course of the broad economy, and there is this opportunity. I think that it's something that will switch the optic from a speculative optic that we were witnessing in 2017, 2018, in a more rational exuberance and a more rational optimism to the market.
I think this is the chair that Darren is sitting every morning and every day and every night. So I think you can, Darren, comment on that, on those red numbers in the market, and then you travel a lot. So how the so again, going back to the use cases that people could look at.
Yeah, to comment on the financial side of the crypto market at this time, we were going through a correction, and then unfortunately the coronavirus is hitting everything, so people are just being emotional and trying to sell out. But what you need to know about the crypto economy is it's global. It doesn't need a jurisdiction or any industry to survive, so it will always be affluent without the need for any other industry or government to adopt it. If you're looking to do a project, I would suggest trying to find a use case in something that you're familiar with, whatever industry that you work in, looking to see if there is one there. If not, I'm primarily focused right now on secondary or complementary solutions to the blockchain, because I personally don't feel the blockchain is at its technological point where it can be integrated into most systems. So I'm looking at, the next layer above and how we can start to, scour for information or utilize the information that's being stored there when it gets to the point that I'm comfortable with, to be able to see how we can utilize that.
Mr. Adonis, you're running the LB chain, blockchain sandbox, where companies come there and they're looking at blockchain solution and they would like to get compliant, right? So how are they successful? Do we have success stories? Do we have stories of failure? And what kind of failures there are?
Yes. Yeah, working. First of all, so LB chain is, as you mentioned, blockchain sandbox, where companies can come, develop and test their blockchain-based solutions while getting Bank of Lithuania regulatory support and technology support, most blockchain technology support from blockchain leaders like CIVITTA and IBM. So we are working in a three-phase project, so we are now in the middle of third phase. So we have few success stories. So we finished second phase with 6 startups, not startups, fintechs, working on LB chain, tested their solution, created, and I see one our alumni is here. So we got some mature companies from abroad, like portfolio management, like Lithuanian companies, KYC providers, and we have had some younger phase companies like Businero, crowdfunding solution provider. So they tested, developed their solution, and then move out from LB chain. So probably some of them managed to get some investments and move to production. Some just made R&D. Into third phase, it was a little bit harder to gather the teams because, first of all, ICO bubble is already burst. And we saw some companies has lack of resources, finance and human resources as well. Some companies understood that blockchain is not the right tool for them, and they can provide their services without blockchain. We helped a few of the companies to understand that, for example, public blockchain is better for them than our provided permissioned Hyperledger Fabric and R3 Corda blockchains. So we have a lot of interesting work going there. We have already worked with 13 companies starting from last year. So much more work in the future, and I encourage every fintech who wants to work with us in LB chain next year. So we're starting from autumn in 2020. We will gather another cohort of companies. So follow Bank of Lithuania, and then you will see all the information about this.
Yeah, and it's important to take away this saying that there were some actors that tested and they saw that they do not need blockchain. Some others, they saw that they need permissionless blockchain. So that's important curve of learning. And as for curve of learning, there's another thing to understand that since we are 2 years past ICO, what happened is that the market realized that any startup is a startup primarily, and each startup has its own problems and challenges. So I would like to ask Andra to comment on these. So what are the challenges that any startup faces in this current environment, how this ecosystem is changing, and how these challenges could be addressed for a new startup?
Yeah, so that's a very complex question. Then I think that startups nowadays, well, obviously, they have a lot of different problems depending on the stage of the startup, depending on the technology that they're using. But if we think about blockchain startups in particular, I think that there are probably 2 major challenges. So first of all, we see a lot of founders who are in love with the technology as such. So meaning that they build blockchain solutions just because they want to use blockchain, just because they really like it. And in reality, it could be that the same problem could be solved in a faster and cheaper way without using the blockchain per se. So this is one of the things. And another one is finding a scalable and viable business and revenue model. So this is extremely challenging for the blockchain startups, basically because if you're using the technology, the sales cycle sometimes is much longer, the development cycle is longer, you need more resources. So while if you start developing the product without testing it early on and without finding the potential clients, it can just, take a lot of time and be very difficult. So I think that, this is where having mentor advice can be crucial in really growing a viable business.
And how does the investors look at blockchain startups? Investors and the accelerators such as yours.
Yeah. So to be honest, the majority of investors, they don't really, for them it's not that important what kind of technology a startup is using. What is more important to see that, they solve an important problem and that there is market demand for it. So investors are happy to have blockchain startups as long as, they have good founders, they have good traction. And it's the same with the accelerators. Of course, if you can find an accelerator or an investor who specializes in the field, that's even better, because as a startup founder, you would just get more support, you would get more advice on how to grow a good company. But yeah, technology is just one of the aspects. At the end of the day, the most important thing is the team. So who are behind it?
I think we all of us have to write this down somewhere. It's not about technology, it's about the team. Very good comment, thank you. I would like to ask Bruno. So we were talking about the startups who are building blockchain solutions, and you as a big company that builds big blockchain solutions for big governments. How easy is to approach them? How easy to approach a government or a public institution and say that, hi, you might have this problem and we have a solution for it? Is that the case, what is going on?
It's a mix. I think my fellow colleagues here mentioned very valid aspects of blockchain as a technology, as any other one. And it's only valid as if it solves a problem that has a demand for it. If there's no problem to be solved, there's no project to be implemented. And after the hype, I think not only governmental but private, they're starting to be more, I would say, pragmatic, and understanding that you need to have a strong business model behind, you have to have a strong team implementing it. Otherwise, you don't have a use case, you don't have a product. And the governments, they know where the pain points. Some of the problems that haunt some governments, they have a good fit for blockchain. But they have already, some of the governments, they have already the maturity to discuss the blockchain angle as the business aspects. Are we bringing measurable enhancements? What is the KPIs that I'm going to use to convince my stakeholders that this solution is the right one? Or what is the reason for me to put $1 million in a project if there's no KPI to measure that this investment has a return? So we are going to this land. Unfortunately, it was not a soft land after the ICO bubble. We learned that on the hard lesson on going from blockchain can solve any problem in the world, that blockchain is just a technology. So it's very pragmatic conversation. Okay? Very, very direct and pragmatic conversation, starting with a pilot. And what we help is to define the use case. If you have already a vertical, because as I mentioned in my presentation, the blockchain itself is an enabler. It's just the base of the cake, so you need to put a sauce on top to have a nice cake. So if you arrive with a white label vertical solution and propose that to a government to tackle a specific use case, then you're gonna just adjust that, I would say, vertical to the exactly customer needs, to the government needs. It's something that increases the chance of success. If you arrive in a government or any private company and just offer, hey, you want to use blockchain in your solution, the chance to succeed is really small.
I think Darren.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to governmental trying to implement blockchain, I've spoke to a few of them. It's yes, the solution will work, but it's a long, arduous process that will not be implemented for many, many years. And the reason is it's like going from horse carrier mail to email. So, I mean, there's a lot of intermediary steps that need to take place before the technology will ever be implemented. You know, you can't just jump from one to the other. Yeah, that's why.
And Vitas has
Yeah,
something
but
to add.
that's I had a lot of limiting beliefs here, where like as I told earlier, blockchain doesn't matter, but on the other hand, the whole startup ecosystem is wrong currently. The institutional players, investors, governments, they all look for, they keep looking for the problems to be solved. But, you know, we have a lot of nice examples when we need to take care of the other things, not the problems, basically the needs, desires, that thing, and only then you can provide something. I'm talking, probably know everybody how Ford made cars, how Apple made iPhone, all these things. So first of all, the investors and startup ecosystem has to start looking for innovators, not the problem solvers.
To follow that, I completely agree. But we keep saying that blockchain needs to solve everything. It already solved the biggest problem, which was the financial industry. So we need to evolve this aspect of the industry because it's the one that is most effective and works already without modifications. We are not at the point where it has solved it, but it has shown the problem and shown the steps to be able to move forward to solve it.
And maybe Ruben can, yeah, let's share the... so if blockchain is solving the first thing that is solving a financial industry, so are the... Well, I see the head moves.
No, because the point is that the problem of financial industry are so deep and so huge that it's not just implementing a blockchain and the problem is solved. We are talking about trillions and trillions of dollars that already are managed in a certain way. So, for example, there is a project, Melonport, is trying to reshape the asset management industry. The project has been out since 2017. I know it since so well before the burst of the crypto bubble, and yet the project is still developing, but it didn't bring any revolution to the system. It's far from bringing a revolution. For example, one thing that I would like to recognize, because blockchain can give an answer to all the problems that we are facing these days. So we saw plenty of slides where there was privacy, supply chain, and so on, financial system. The very key point, I think, here is that the user experience, because we were mentioning before the gap between the user and the companies. I can have a very great solution to your problem as a user, but if I don't deliver something that you can easily use every day, that gap will remain forever. Just a quick example. How many of you, for example, use a 3.0 browser like Brave, or you use an extension that connects you directly to? How many? Raise your hands.
4, 5 people, 7, 10, 12, 13.
13 out of...
Of 80?
Of 80 in a crowd that is kind of interested to blockchain. That means that if I want to develop a DeFi product, I need people that use this tool to interact with my product. So that's why there are the solutions, but we are kind of unfortunately far from solving them.
Because there's an existential crisis, right? When you give usability to mainstream users, you lose privacy and you lose the ability for these individuals to control their own keys because you have to educate the masses, which is never going to happen. So if you want mainstream adoption, and give them the easy executable, which is you hold the private keys, use a username and password, then you've completely destroyed the need to use this ecosystem because you can use any financial ecosystem. The reason that blockchain and crypto work so well is the ability for the end user to control everything without the need for a third party to interact between their financial transactions. But if you lose that aspect, then you lose the reason for crypto.
Exactly. But the point is, a lot of people are really scared yet, because that's why everyone has their own asset on Coinbase or on Binance, and they don't have their own wallet on the blockchain. Many of you, they have, but...
Yeah, I think that what you're talking about, it's probably that this problem between the solution and user, it's common for any technology, isn't it? And I would like to ask Andra how startups are approaching this problem, how to make, what are the methods to figure this out? Is it solely depends on team or accelerators helps with this problem?
Yeah, so just to rewind back a little bit, the best option probably to see if you have a product that has good usability is testing it. So testing it in the market, seeing if there is traction, and this can be done in many different ways. So, you know, it can be launching a beta, collecting data, doing A/B testing, doing customer interviews. There are just so many options to test what is usable, what customers really need, and then seeing how this can be employed on a larger scale in the market. But of course, you know, it always depends. If you're building a solution for the niche, then probably it doesn't have to be that important that it's, you know, adopted by the masses. So it really depends on what's the ultimate goal. But in the end of the day, still, I would stick to this idea that, you know, as long as it solves a problem, then it's needed. And customers don't always know that they have this problem, but the ability to identify it and to find a solution that solves it, that is the key. And this was exactly, you know, what Ford or Apple, for example, have done. They have identified a problem that the customers had and then solved it. So just talk to your customers. And you know, there are many, many different tools on learning how to do it. Accelerators are one of them, but there are great books, great courses that founders can take a look at and see, you know, how to do these tests.
Bruno?
Yeah, there's another angle on the blockchain projects that not necessarily the blockchain solution can be your main actor on a solution that you're proposing. You know? As he mentioned, in a lot of cases, if you try to implement the blockchain as your hero to solve a giant problem with a lot of complexities, most probably you're going to fail on that. You know? But blockchain can be an auxiliary in your more complex solution and be just a plugin for execute part of your problem solution. And then it's how you slowly integrate blockchain as a technology enabler to provide solutions to more complex systems. You know, not necessarily it's the main actor or next. People has a wrong view about blockchain. When you say project a blockchain, people think that the whole project is included. The whole project is in the smart contract. Actually, it's completely the opposite. It's most of these ICOs in back 2018, they execute on 1-2 instructions in the blockchain. The rest is in a centralized server. You know, so people has a wrong view on how that blockchain is addressed. It's not to be the ether. It's everywhere and everything is inside the blockchain and everything will be ruled without human intervention. It's far away from that. It has strong capabilities. It has been proved with the most complicated and difficult segment to break, which is the financial segment, and was the need and the distrust on the financial system that motivates the creation of something to replace it. Yeah? And of course, now we are realizing that the blockchain can be used to other things, but how to use it, it's a work in progress, and for sure, it's not as a main actor in everywhere. It's as a piece of the puzzle, and the technology that will go on top, IoT, AI, will slowly increase I would say, the preeminence of this technology and solutions, but is a work in progress.
I would like to ask Mr. Andreas Adomonis about the regulatory environment. If we are, okay, so what we heard, that there are use cases where you can actually apply build a tech startup to solve the problem. Then if you identify the right program and you have a right team, then you face the regulatory challenges. As far as I understand, LB chain is there, right, to address these challenges. So what are they here in Lithuania and how the LB chain works?
For me, it's very hard to speak as a regulator because I'm not I'm working at central bank, but I'm more in IT department, so it's not my mandate to speak about.
We are streaming this, so be careful.
Yeah. So one of the aim of LB chain was that regulators need should learn about new technologies and understand them. So increase their competence and go step by step to the market, and not to ban something that we do not understand, but to foster, to accelerate the development of this by encouraging and creating the playgrounds, the sandboxes. So LB chain is blockchain sandbox, but we also have regulatory sandbox, which is not limited only in the blockchain technology. You can come just with some process innovation, with some artificial intelligence use cases, and so on, where you can operate in the market while you are under the supervision of market regulator, but the supervision is not like to fine for every mistake, but to help you to solve these mistakes and how to adapt to the regulatory requirements. So this is what regulators are doing around the world, and this is how we should solve all the problems with regulators and challenges with regulators.
Yeah, it's I've been in 80 different countries. I'm originally from Canada. I was looking for a place to call home. Lithuania is now my home. I just got my residency. Thank you very much. But realistically, the reason is I've been in blockchain crypto since 2011, and when this actually hit mainstream, all jurisdictions and regulators kind of just threw the book down. And I found that Lithuania is very open and understanding and welcoming to work to understand how they can implement the rules and regulations, not to cut, the snake off at the head, but to allow it to grow without it being nefarious in any purposes.
Maybe we can turn to the audience. Do we have questions, or you had a comment?
I still have a comment.
Okay, so please the comment and then prepare your questions.
Just one comment to the keys part. It's a lot of people see the blockchains as absolute thing. If you use blockchain, you have to use it the whole, like from the keys to the transparency. But in some cases, we can use one or another feature that blockchain gives. Like we can create CBDC, just digital currency, use the digital currency and leverage the ability to see the traceability, the interoperability between systems. We not necessarily need to deal with the keys being end users. So gradually we make this revolution, not overnight, just case by case.
Yeah. One quick thing. And guys, just because you have blockchain in your project does not mean you're instantly going to get money. That was the worst thing that ever happened with ICOs. You are a tech startup. Do you know how many fail, and do you know how hard it is to get someone interested in your project? Just because you have blockchain doesn't mean you're going to be driving a Lambo. It's just as much work as if you were trying to be an IoT, or you were trying to be an AI, or you were trying to be in traditional database management or any type of technology solution. So don't think just because you add blockchain, you're going to see dollar signs.
Or even more. Right.
Yeah, actually, because you got to cut through the mess now of all these projects.
One thing that we were mentioning before, the difficulties in creating KPIs for blockchain companies. Investors needs models to evaluate your business model. And if they don't have any track record of KPIs or an environment in which they can compare you with your peers, that becomes more risky for the investor to bring money to the company. That means that there are lower valuations and all the other problems that this involves. So it will be even more difficult. And I'm talking from our own experience. So.
You have to have a clear value proposition and a business model behind it, and then use the technology that most adequate for your problem solving. That's it. You know, maybe it's blockchain, maybe it's a centralized server, maybe it's a combination of blockchain with IoT or AI, whatever. But it's the value proposition, the unique selling points, and how competent is the team to deliver this product that you're trying to put into the market. And the most important question is anybody interested to use that? Because if you don't have a market to be addressed, or if you don't have addressable market, you're building something to yourself, basically, to enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's turn to the audience. Do we have questions? Yes. Please say who you are and...
I'm Justinas, and actually having one question that maybe I will address to Andrius probably, because basically, like, actually 10 years ago probably there were some initiatives on interoperability in general in Lithuania, which involved into quite a good and nice solutions for e-services, which kind of came in, and now everyone who lives in Lithuania probably used these e-services for identification themselves in the governmental websites, also for payments solutions and so on. So, and this kind of interoperability framework was really kind of 10 years ago, and now I'm sitting here listening for the blockchain, and kind of it's the same, simply named a bit different. And question actually is how much Lithuanian bank is cooperating with e-services and interoperability platform, which is actually implemented in Lithuania, and we actually seeing the results. We really having like public services, and now aren't we repeating the same interoperability framework? Meaning also wasting money of EU, which is, but maybe this is, you know, maybe it's a different budget line simply in the EU. I'm very open on that question, and very interesting if we have this already, the connection with what is being built already in Lithuania.
Yes, so LB Chain is like test environment for startups, and this environment is completely isolated from our systems. In the initial phase of LB Chain, we thought about maybe we need to integrate some additional tools, like you mentioned, e-services, to help fintechs understand the environment of Lithuania market, and maybe to simulate the behavior of other e-services here in Lithuania while they are using LB Chain test platform. But for today, LB Chain is completely separated from outside world test environment, and we do not have some integrations or interoperability with e-systems. In other cases of Bank of Lithuania, in other use cases, or in our ministry's use cases, probably they are using and thinking about this because this is already a live system, and it takes an important part in the whole Lithuanian IT infrastructure. So at least I hope that our government bodies are using this and then thinking about how to integrate the existing e-systems.
Yeah, I may, if I may add to this, yeah, the Bank of Lithuania is not the only one progressive institution in Lithuania, which is great. Ministry of Economy joined European Blockchain Partnership 2018. European Blockchain Partnership has developed the interoperability system, because as everybody knows, blockchain is decentralized. So they developed European blockchain services infrastructure that has 4 services approved already. And the Ministry of Economy, through the Committee of Information Technologies, they are starting a Lithuanian node and joining the EBSI. By 2023, there will be the second version of infrastructure with more services. Services like notary service, like digital identity service, and other more sophisticated. So we are joining this.
So I wasn't here for this, so this is just my perspective, but I have a question for you. You said how amazing the current infrastructure is because they implemented this program 10 years ago, correct?
Well, it's simply, I think, good for the people.
Of course.
To use, you know.
So my question to you would be this. If they weren't innovative back then, would you be reaping the rewards and seeing the changes now? So yes, blockchain at this point does not solve the world's problems, but IoT and interoperability at that point didn't either. It
Definitely,
takes time to grow.
I mean, I personally myself, I didn't believe in that,
Right.
but I was working in that environment as well, so that was cool. Now, when I think of that, okay, that was just like putting concepts on the paper.
Yep.
Was something, it should grow, and actually now after like 10 years when I look to the things and how beneficial it is to the people, so it's amazing. Simply, I'm worried that we kind of redoing the same thing, but I think your idea is very, very good, because actually if you try to build interoperability platform centralized, it's very heavy mechanism. Then you have all the bureaucracy and so on. So that's now not good.
Yeah, it will be complementary in the short term, but my point was, in the long term, say 10 years from now, you'll look back and go, okay, I get it. Yeah.
Just to make, for example, one example of interoperability. Now we have the digital ID, but with the digital ID you can interact only with specific services. With a digital ID on blockchain, that means that when I am going to open another bank account, I don't have to go through all the long processes of KYC, bringing papers, all the documents and so on, because I can just tap with my ID on blockchain. Is verifiable as legal tender, and so I can do something that I can do maybe in 1 day. Nowadays, it can take 5 seconds.
There's another angle with the identity in the blockchain, that you can start controlling your information that you share. Nowadays, when somebody asks your identification, a policeman or whatever, you show your whole identification or everything that's inside that. And with blockchain, you can start showing only a piece of information that is required and what you want to undisclose, which is empowering people on self-sovereignty. Identification is one clear trend and use case for blockchain identification.
And on that, there was this mentioning of European Commission. So European Commission is working on many, many levels. There is this blockchain partnership where they work with governments. There are Horizon projects where they have a specific tasks for global consortiums to build a team and to implement it. So when they say that, okay, we need more startups to work with this technology, to find new pilots, to find new MVPs, here we have BlockIS and BlockStart, where they say we need to train people to teach the policymakers and corporates how to procure blockchain. Here we have BHub for Europe. And then there are different tenders going on in the Horizon program for self-sovereign identity, for interoperability, for standardization. And then this blockchain fund, AI blockchain fund, is yet another program where they will be investing in mature startups to match the investments from VCs to push innovation even further and further. Okay, European Commission is working on many levels. Sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's slower. With Horizon projects, it takes time to build the consortium, to put the proposal, to get the project, and then to implement it. It probably will take you 24, 32 months. But these things are happening on very multiple levels, and some are for the national governments, some are for the countries that they will use European money to fund us. For example, Invega helps through other instruments, and then there are Horizon projects, and then there are funds, and there are different initiatives, and so on, so on, so on. So it's very multi-level.
And also, I mean, let's turn your negative question into a positive. You guys need to be, no, I know, but you guys need to be really thankful that your regulators and your governments want to work with you to build this without putting handcuffs on you. That doesn't happen globally. And I can attest to that because I've been all across the globe. And this was the one place that I found was the most open and welcoming to new innovations. And instead of stifling them, giving them the ability to grow while working with them to figure out what is possible and what isn't.
Do we have more questions? Oh, I think this positive note about being in the best place kind of struck us. So I would like to thank you all then and invite you for this networking to circle around a little bit, and you can ask your questions face to face to our beloved panel. And thank you all for coming. Thank you all for being interested in blockchain. So once again, follow us, follow CIVITTA and Startup Division, and many things will happen and many more events will come. If you have a particular interest, please approach us, approach me, my colleagues, and let's figure out how we can help each other. Thank you all.